Washington's pressure campaign on Venezuela is entering a far more contentious stage as the Trump administration intensifies what Caracas calls a fabricated crusade against the so-called Cartel de los Soles. The looming terrorist designation, widely criticized in Latin America, is seen in Venezuela as another Washington pretext to squeeze a sovereign nation already reeling from years of sanctions and economic warfare.
State Dept intends to designate Cartel de los Soles as a foreign terrorist organization, FTO. Headed by the illegitimate Nicolás Maduro, the group has corrupted the institutions of government in Venezuela and is responsible for terrorist violence conducted by and with other designated FTOs, as well as for trafficking drugs into the United States and Europe.
As President Nicolás Maduro confronts unrest at home, Washington is escalating its military posture rather than pursuing regional diplomacy. The sudden arrival of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the most advanced aircraft carrier ever built, has raised concerns across Latin America that the US is once again relying on overwhelming force instead of dialogue.
Get out of here. Imperialist ships, get out of here. Military threats. Venezuela demands respect. We demand respect for this homeland of honor, peace, and truth. This people have enough power in the streets. This people have power in all the cities. This people have enough power.
The Ford Strike Group now operates alongside amphibious assault ships and marine units, creating one of the largest US naval buildups in the hemisphere in decades. Despite Washington insisting it is merely a counter-narco mission, regional analysts say the scale looks more like coercive military signaling against a government the US has long sought to topple.
Any update on Venezuela, Mr. President? On Venezuela update?
No update on Venezuela.
With the designation of that cartel associated with Maduro, does that mean that the U.S. government can target Maduro's assets or infrastructure inside Venezuela?
It allows us to do that, but we haven't said we're going to do that. And we may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
Even as Maduro denounces the US presence offshore, Trump now suggests Caracas may want to talk, a claim Venezuelan officials have not confirmed. But whatever private messages may be circulating, Washington is clearly relying on hard power, not diplomacy, with an uptick in military actions far from Venezuelan shores.
They would like to talk. We like to keep Congress involved. I mean, we're stopping drug dealers and drugs from coming into our country. And I actually told Marco and some of the people, our Secretary of State is doing a great job, by the way. I said, go to Congress and let them know we're not letting drugs come through Mexico. We're not letting them come through Venezuela. And let Congress know about it. We don't have to get their approval, but I think letting them know is good. The only thing I don't want them to do is leak information that's very important and confidential.
The most recent strike took place Friday in the Eastern Pacific, thousands of miles from Venezuela. Acting under orders from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, US forces hit a vessel Washington labels part of a designated terrorist organization. Caracas and several regional observers argue these designations often lack transparency and serve as justification for open-ended military action.
We don't mess with anyone in this world. They want to steal the oil. We are going to let them steal Venezuela's oil. They want to steal Venezuela's gas. We are going to allow it. Raise your hands, those who want to become slaves of the gringos. Raise your hand, those who want it to become a Colonia Venezuela of the gringos.
US Southern Command released video showing the targeted vessel engulfed in flames, though the location and timing cannot be independently verified. 3 alleged narco-terrorists were killed, adding to a growing list of casualties from strikes critics say may violate international law and risk normalizing lethal force at sea. 80 dead, a growing armada offshore, and rising anger in Caracas. Venezuela says the US is dragging the hemisphere toward a crisis no one voted for. Whether the region steps back from the brink now depends on Washington's next move.